Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Today is our health unit for the month of March. And, of course, one way to be healthy is to eat enough food, but not too much food. Otherwise, you might get fat and you might suffer from diabetes or heart disease and things like that if you don't have a balanced diet. But today we're going to talk about something that we actually don't recommend you consider as a possible career. We're talking about the world of competitive eating, and these are athletes with an appetite. So basically you try to eat as much as you can in a short amount of time, and then if you eat more than other people, then you're the winner.
Ooh. I've only watched, actually, I was just going to say I don't watch this kind of competition, but I used to. There was this show on the Travel Channel that was called Man vs. Food. And the host would try to eat as much as possible of one dish. And he was usually didn't have a person who was competing against him. It was just kind of the house giving him their biggest steak or their biggest pile of pancakes or whatever, or their hottest chicken wings that they could possibly produce, and he would just gobble it down. He has since regretted that. I used to watch this show because the guy was so funny. He was a comedian, an actor-comedian. But yeah, he then had to quit hosting that show because it was really ruining his health.
Well, there is that famous hot dog eating contest in New York on July 4th every year, which we will talk about. But there are other eating contests. I don't know if you have them here in Taiwan, but in the U.S., sometimes at state fairs or county fairs, you have pie eating contests.
Oh, really?
Where people try to eat as much apple pie or blueberry pie or cherry pie as they can. And there may be other kinds of eating contests as well. And, of course, some of you here in Taiwan might be thinking, no wonder you Americans are so obese for having those eating contests. And, well, that's a good assessment there because Americans do tend to enjoy their eating contests. Not everybody, but some people do. And, again, we're talking about the world of competitive eating. So let's introduce this topic to you right now by reading through the first part. And we'll be right back to discuss it with you.
Basketball, tennis, football. People dedicate their lives to these sports, putting themselves through rigorous exercise regimes and diet plans in order to train their bodies to accomplish amazing feats of physical strength. Professional athletes compete fiercely to win races and championships. There can be no doubt that the people who participate in these sports put in staggering amounts of work and push their bodies to their limits. Competitive eating is no different. While you might not see it at the Olympics anytime soon, the people in these competitions train their bodies with the dedication and drive of professional athletes. One of the first competitive eaters to see this skill as a sport and not a novelty was Kobayashi Takeru. When Kobayashi competed in Nathan's hot dog eating contest in 2001, he changed the game forever. Weighing just under 60 kilograms, Kobayashi astonished onlookers by eating 50 hot dogs in just 12 minutes, annihilating the previous record. Kobayashi went on to break record after record, including multiple Guinness World Records. The secret behind his success: possessing the mentality of an athlete. According to Kobayashi, competitive eating is not having a meal. It's about viewing it as a legitimate sport. This sentiment was later echoed by Kobayashi's successor, Joey Chestnut. When I started calling myself an athlete, I started to be able to push harder, Chestnut said. Kobayashi and Chestnut utilize similar training methods to prepare themselves for competition. Both sustain their fitness levels by weightlifting and doing intensive exercises to strengthen their jaw and throat muscles. Another crucial technique they use is drinking excessive amounts of water in order to expand their stomach capacity. It cannot be denied that both Kobayashi and Chestnut have committed themselves to perfecting their sport. However, the question remains whether their efforts will ever be truly respected in the wider sporting community.
Okay, we're talking about athletes with an appetite. That means they're hungry and they want to eat something. And we're talking about the world of competitive eating. Now, here in the first part of our lesson, it says basketball, tennis, football. People dedicate their lives to these sports, putting themselves through rigorous exercise regimes and diet plans in order to train their bodies to accomplish amazing feats of physical strength. This is a long sentence, but basically it's telling us that there are athletes in various sports like basketball, tennis, and football, and they put themselves through a lot of training. They dedicate their lives to these sports. It's like their priority. I want to be a basketball player. I want to be really good at tennis. And in order to be really good at those sports, you need to put yourself through rigorous exercise regimes. So here we've got the phrase to put yourself through something, which means you endure a difficult situation. So, of course, rigorous means it's intense. It'll make you tired and sore at the end of the day. And a regime is basically a schedule of exercises that you're going to do. I'm going to do weight training today, and tomorrow I'm going to do cardiovascular, etc. You have a whole program set up. Maybe you have a coach or something like that that establishes this regime for you. So you put yourself through that. It's exhausting and it's probably not very enjoyable. You also have a diet plan, which of course talks about the kind of food you eat, when you eat, how much protein you're going to eat, how many carbohydrates, how soon after exercise you're going to eat, if you're going to eat before, etc., etc. You have to keep all of that in consideration. It can be quite complicated.
Yeah, it really can. We've got a lot of vocabulary words in this one sentence. I wanted to mention, too, if you have a regime, you could call it an exercise regime. Regime sounds more, I think, strict to me than saying I have an exercise routine, something I do, to get my exercise in. So regime is also used in another way, which you should know about. It could be a government, especially an authoritarian government where there's no freedom. For example, North Korea has a regime in power. So, yeah, you could put yourself through all this, and that's what athletes do in order to accomplish amazing feats of physical strength. Notice here, I'm not saying F-E-E-T-S, like 2 feet. We never say that anyway because feet is not count. A feat here just means some sort of achievement that was really difficult to accomplish. Maybe it required a lot of training, some courage or skill. Every time I watch gymnastics and gymnasts perform, I'm always amazed at their amazing feats of physical strength and flexibility. They're amazing.
Exactly. If you're a marathon runner, maybe you can run it in less than 2.5 hours or something like that. That will be a display of physical strength, or lifting a certain amount of weight, or performing various flips in the air if you're a gymnast, etc., etc. And professional athletes compete fiercely to win races and championships. So yes, indeed, if you want to be a professional athlete, there is a lot of competition, so you need to compete fiercely. It's not just something you can do, I think I'll just run in that 10K race there, and I'll probably do pretty well, I ran a couple miles last week, I'll do pretty well, but no, you've got to compete fiercely, you've got to train for months and months, and you have to have that exercise regime and that diet plan in order to compete, and you'll only be lucky if you finish within the top 10 or something like that. So yes, indeed, you need to compete fiercely. Fiercely just means with a lot of energy and maybe with some aggressiveness as well. So yes, you need to be fierce sometimes to compete in the world of finance, for example. Everybody wants to make money, and competition can be quite fierce.
Yeah, it also gives this idea of things are really intense. There could be a lot of stress doing it. I know that some of these fields, they've got a lot of people who want to be professional athletes. If you really have the opportunity, you'll also, besides having to have the native just born with some of these gifts and abilities. You have to practice. You have to train. And if you don't like hard work, you're probably never going to make it. There are too many people out there who want to be a professional athlete. Or even a performer. If you're a performer, you have to practice. There are a lot of people fighting to get some of these top jobs. And if you could spend your life doing something you love and making money that way, who wouldn't want to do that? The people out there, though, guys, are the ones who don't give up. They keep at it, and they practice and work hard. If you're lazy, you're never going to be able to do it. So there can be no doubt that the people who participate in these sports that we mentioned, like basketball, tennis, football, they put in staggering amounts of work and push their bodies to their limits. Staggering means it's something so big you almost fall over. Picture someone who's drunk. They've had a lot of alcohol. When they walk, they kind of stagger around. They move in kind of this awkward, unsteady way. They're staggering. But when we use it as an adjective to describe something, and this is describing the amount or volume of work, it's staggering. It's so big. It's hard to even imagine.
And competitive eating is no different. Of course, you need to do a lot of training for this. And it goes on to say, while you might not see it at the Olympics anytime soon, the people in these competitions train their bodies with the dedication and drive of professional athletes, so they take it very seriously as well. And one of the first competitive eaters to see this skill as a sport and not a novelty was Kobayashi Takeru, or Xiaolin Zun, as you say in Chinese, a Japanese fella. And of course, he took it serious. I think before that, maybe they just thought it was kind of fun. Oh, let's have this hot dog eating contest and see who can win. But Kobayashi Takeru, when he came along, he said, nope, I'm going to take this seriously and I'm going to really show them how it's done. And that's where we're going to take a break right now. We'll continue talking about Kobayashi in just a second, but let's take a break now and listen to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。今天这个单元的这个主题啊，真的好有趣哦，叫做大胃王。对，说真的大家觉得能够好好的吃真的是不错，可是居然有人呢身形瘦小可以吃很多东西耶。不过其实大胃王是经过训练的哦，因为就像任何的运动一样，什么篮球、网球、美式足球，其实都有很严格的运动训练方式，还有饮食的计划。所以参加大胃王训练，或者是参加刚刚我们说的运动赛事的人，他们所下的功夫惊人，也挑战了体能的极限。我们刚刚讲的这句话就在第一段第3句的地方。那这里要特别注意一下，因为其实它有一个特殊句型，在第3句这里有 There can be no doubt that， 或者我们说 There is no doubt that， 毫无疑问很肯定的 that 后面加一个完整子句，就是很肯定什么事。不过在这里呢，我们看到的主词 the people， 到底什么是很肯定呢？ The people 后面带了一个限定用法关系子句，从 who 到 sports 的地方限定了这些就是参与这些运动赛事的人。哦，真的是体能的极限耶。当然大胃王虽然不是一个奥运的运动项目，但是参加大胃王比赛的人，他们其实是用专业运动员的精神跟魄力来训练自己哦。所以我们接着同样看一下第一段第5句的地方。一开始这里的 while 其实是一个连接词，表示 although， 所以在英文当中，如果你句首看到 while 的时候，当然国中的时候告诉你while 就是 when 后面通常加 ing， 可是其实在一般的生活当中 while 还蛮常当成 although， 表示一种让步。好，那么谁呢？当然就是我们知道那个日本人小林尊啊 Kobayashi Takeru， 他就是我们这个大胃王选手最厉害的人了。好，那么我们在这里呢，第一段的最后一句第6句，除了看到我们今天的主角是 Kobayashi Takeru 之外呢，那么后面呢，我们看一下最重要的是动词视 A 为 B， see this skill as a sport。这个部分我们的视 A 为 B 来复习一下。所谓视 A 为 B 的视，一个单字的有3个 see，view V-I-E-W 或者是 regard，R-E-G-A-R-D。那么后面呢 S 是不变的，可是视而为 B 这个视啊，还有2个字的动词片语有3组哦。第一组是 look on L-O-O-K on O-N 或者是 upon U-P-O-N， 或你可以用 think of T-H-I-N-K-O-F， 也可以用 refer to R-E-F-E-R-T-O。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. And we're talking about athletes with an appetite. People who train and perform and participate and compete in the world of competitive eating. When I was growing up, there really wasn't a world of competitive eating. But I do remember the first time I saw this Kobayashi fellow. I was just saying to Tom, nobody knows his name is Kobayashi Takeru. It's just Kobayashi in America. And I remember thinking, oh, how does this little skinny fellow have a chance? Usually, big fat men are able to eat more than skinny men. This was just for guys. There were no women in the contest. And I just remember thinking, oh, he's going to lose bad. He's going to look silly. And this guy ate so many more hot dogs than the runner-up that it was kind of embarrassing for the other people who were involved. So we're talking about how this world of competitive eating is something that the professionals actually train for. They have rigorous exercise regimes, as we mentioned earlier, and some have diet plans. Kobayashi, I don't know how he came into the picture, but I just remember the first time I saw him. I don't know if you ever saw the first contest. I remember thinking, this little skinny guy? Oh, please. He can maybe eat 2 hot dogs and be full.
Right, but you probably underestimated him.
Yeah.
And, way back in 2001, he competed in Nathan's hot dog eating contest. And, of course, he changed the game forever when he competed in the year 2001. Weighing just under 60 kilograms, Kobayashi astonished onlookers by eating 50 hot dogs in just 12 minutes, annihilating the previous record.
Wow.
So he's light. He's a small guy, 60 kilograms. But he surprised or really astonished onlookers or not participants, but people there watching the contest. Those would be the onlookers, the audience there, the crowd. He surprised them by eating 50 hot dogs, and he did it in just 12 minutes. I think at the time limit was 12 minutes. They've changed it to 10 minutes now. But here the verb to annihilate means to totally destroy something, like the invading army annihilated the defense. It was really easy. They were defenseless. And in this case, he annihilated the previous record. He just totally destroyed the record. And I think he kept it for quite some time, too.
You can use this word annihilate, even if you're just talking about another team or a student you're competing against beating you badly, just to exaggerate and have some fun. Yeah, we annihilated them. You beat them so badly, they look like they were just totally destroyed. He was able to eat 50 hot dogs in just 12 minutes, which is insane. And he went on to break record after record. Yeah, when this guy, Kobayashi, came onto the scene, up until that point, people had just been doing these, eating contests for fun, like at a fair. You might win a little crazy prize. This guy was serious. And I totally underestimated him, as you said. I just thought, well, he could probably eat 2 hot dogs. He just killed the competition. So we have records for silly things. This is one of them. Who can eat the most in a short amount of time? That's a record. We have this Guinness World Records. When we were growing up, it was the Guinness Book of World Records. It still exists today, and if you want to get into a book and have your name published, then you have to do something silly that goes on and on and on, where you beat other people, and then you'll make your name famous by being in the Guinness World Records. So that's what he did. He went on to break a lot of records, and he was a champion for quite a long time.
Yep, and the secret to his success, or the secret behind his success, was possessing the mentality of an athlete. The mentality, of course, is the general way you think about things.
Yeah.
We talk about the mentality of the rich, for example, how they think, versus the mentality of the poor, just the general way these people think. And athletes, of course, have to have this mentality of training hard. You need to have an exercise regime or an exercise regimen, we can also say, and also having a carefully structured diet. So he took it seriously. He possessed the mentality of an athlete. And according to Kobayashi, competitive eating is not just having a meal, it's about viewing it as a legitimate sport. So he's not competing in this contest just to get a whole bunch of free hot dogs and, stuffing himself silly and, not being able to eat for several days.
I love hot dogs.
Saving money, but it's about viewing it as a legitimate sport. He's taking it seriously because, hey, if you win this contest, you can become famous and you can probably win some prize money as well.
Oh, yeah. So having that mentality of never quitting, never giving up, you're just going to win no matter what, is very important. According to him, competitive eating, as Tom said, is not having a meal. No! It's about viewing it as a real or legitimate sport. And this sentiment just means this idea, this feeling that he's giving out was later echoed or repeated by his successor. The person who finally beat Kobayashi was Joey Chestnut. And because he's got such a crazy name, Joey Chestnut, it kind of sticks in your head. I remember when he beat Kobayashi, it was a big deal because Kobayashi had won year after year. And when Chestnut was interviewed, he said, when I started calling myself an athlete, that's when he started to be able to push harder. It reminds me of the attitude that my favorite baseball player, Derek Jeter, had. It was never say die. And he would do anything he needed to get the out or to hit the ball or to give up his body. The time he jumped into the Red Sox seats, the stands where the fans were, and he came up and he was all bloody. He didn't care. He just wanted to get the ball. He wanted to get the out. He caught the ball and he held on to it. So that's what an athlete feels like. I must win no matter what.
Indeed. So yes, if you have that athlete mentality, then the sport of hot dog eating is no longer a novelty, which is what it was for many years. It was just some kind of cute little contest they had, and nobody really took it seriously. That's what a novelty is. But he decided to take this seriously, and Kobayashi and Chestnut utilized similar training methods to prepare themselves for competition. Both sustain their fitness levels by weightlifting. They lift weights, and they do intensive exercises to strengthen their jaw and throat muscles. I don't know how you would do that. Maybe chew on something many times or something?
No. There are jaw exercises I've seen.
Okay, and your throat muscles as well.
Yeah.
And another crucial technique they use is drinking excessive amounts of water in order to expand their stomach capacity. Capacity just refers to how much something can contain. Like, what is the capacity of the gasoline tank in your car? Oh, it can fit 20 gallons or something like that.
Yeah, or the stadium's capacity, how many people can it hold? So it cannot be denied that both Kobayashi and Chestnut have committed themselves to perfecting their sport. However, the question remains whether their efforts will ever be truly respected in the wider sporting community. I doubt it. I doubt the other athletes who play basketball, tennis, soccer, those kinds of sports will ever look at these two men and say, yeah, they're my equal. Yeah, they're athletes too.
However, the question remains whether their efforts will ever be truly respected in the wider sporting community. So even though they train hard, most athletes in other sports probably still consider hot dog eating or competitive eating as just a novelty kind of sport.
They're just goofing around.
It's just for publicity, and you'll never see it in the Olympics. Who knows? That may change someday. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion. Let's listen to our Chinese teacher now.
所以我们刚刚提到小林尊啊，真是全世界最厉害的大胃王了。在接下来的第二段呢，提到因为其实他当时在2001年 Nathan 吃热狗大赛的时候，他就整个刷新了纪录。因为他的体重不到60公斤，他短短12分钟之内就吃掉了50根的热狗，就彻底刷新之前比赛的纪录。在第二段的第二句这个地方，我们要看到，首先它是一个分词构句，接下来呢，它也是一个关系子句的简化。一开始的 weighing 这里其实本来有一个主词，就是 Kobayashi 小林先生。 Kobayashi weighed 本来应该有一个过去式的动词，那逗点之后有一个 and， 可其实呢在前面两个子句都是用来修饰小林先生，所以把 and 这个连接词直接删掉，前面的小林跟所谓的体重多少 weighed 直接删掉，变成动词 ing。好，那接下来我们说的非限定用法关系子句的一个简化呢，就在逗点之后的 annihilating 这个地方。所谓的 annihilate 就是彻底刷新记录的意思，可是逗点前面的先行词并不是12分钟哦，而是逗点前面从句首开始这整件事，所以后面的逗点的 annihilating 本来应该是 which annihilated。那么接着呢，我们就来看一下小林尊啊，在之后就接二连三打破很多的记录，包括世界的金氏纪录哦。可是他为什么可以成功呢？他的秘诀就是要拥有一个运动员的心态，因为他觉得大胃王比赛不是吃一顿吃很饱就好了，其实他攸关于视这个大胃王这件事情啊为一个正统的运动。所以我们在第二段的第6句又看到视 A 为 B， view A as B。好，那接下来就谈到小林尊的继承者咯，他的继任者是 Joy Chestnut， 他们都怎么样的训练呢？我们接下来看看第3段，他们类似的训练方式啊，就是透过举重还有进行高强度的运动，增强他们的下巴跟喉咙的这个肌肉，维持身体的强度。不过还有采取另外一个关键技术，就是喝下大量的水。来看一下第3段第3句的地方，首先一开始呢，主词有3个字，叫做 another crucial technique， 后面带了一个限定用法的关系子句，但是省略了 which 或者是 that， 其关系子句很短，就是 they use。 为什么可以省略呢？因为在这个关系子句当中啊， which that 也就是这个所谓的技巧是当成句子里面 use 的受词，所以如果关系词在关系子句当中本身当受词的时候就可以省略。他们怎么做？就是喝过量的水，扩张他们胃的容量。那当然这样子的话是很不舒服，可是胃可以撑大诶。不过不可否认的就是小林尊跟他的继任者 Chestnut 其实都致力于把他们的运动表现发挥得淋漓尽致。不过问题就是停留在到底这个大胃王训练是不是真的可以纳入奥运的项目呢？我们还没结束哦。第3段的第4句这个地方我们还是要看一下。首先 it 是一个虚主词，真主词是后面的 that 一直到句尾的地方。那么在这里的第4句其实也有一个特殊的句型，就是某件事是不能被否认的， It cannot be denied。 那动词也可以随着你的语义做变化，真主词就从后面的 that 一直到句尾的地方。所以我们明天还会再谈谈大胃王的训练方式跟比赛。以上是我们今天内容，我是安娜，明天见。
That's it, guys. We have another day to talk about the world of competitive eating. We hope you'll join us then. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.